So, a while ago I was watching a video about European theme parks and on how little investment the UK theme park industry has seen over the past 10 years. And it got me thinking, why have they been seeing so little investment over the past maybe 10 years? I mean, ever since the Smiler in 2014, Alton Towers hasn't seen a proper new thrill edition. I mean, Nemesis Reborn doesn't really count because it's a retrack. It didn't take me long to realise why. Merlin. I'm here to discuss why Merlin may have caused the UK rollercoaster drought of the late 2010s and early 2020s, and why it may be coming to an end.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Before we dive in, quick plug to subscribe if you enjoy the video. If you don't, maybe you'll enjoy some other videos I make. I make a wide variety of them. I'm getting Planet Coaster 2 soon, so if that kind of content's for you, stick around. If you do enjoy it, maybe give it a like, and of course subscribe. I'm trying to get to 200 by the end of the year, so a subscription will be much appreciated. Anyway, let's start with a little bit of backstory. Let's go back to 1978, when Chessington was acquired by the Pearson Group alongside Madden Tussauds to form the Madden Tussauds Group. Chessington then started adding rides in 1987, and the Tussauds Group acquired Alton Towers in Staffordshire just 3 years later in 1990. A couple years after that, the park would open one of the most influential coasters ever. This coaster would change how roller coasters were built forever, that being Nemesis. Nemesis seemed to be way ahead of its time, and when you look at that and the big one side by side, you think that Nemesis would be a lot newer. I'm talking about the original one. Another thing that Nemesis had that a lot of other coasters didn't at the time was a storyline. The story was that Nemesis was an alien creature from another dimension, and what was later added on the Phalanx were trying to pin it down with steel. This was probably one of the other reasons that Nemesis became so successful for the park. And just 4 years later, they would open Oblivion in 1998, marking the continuation of the Secret Weapon series, of which 2 designs had already been planned pre-Nemesis, but neither of them happened, meaning that Nemesis became Secret Weapon 3 for some reason, and Oblivion became Secret Weapon 4. At Alton Towers, the Secret Weapon series would continue up until Wicker Man, which is the most recent, opening in 2018. And to put that into perspective, that was 7 years ago. Now, since then, Chessington hasn't really received a ton of investment. It's seen, of course, it's opened rides like Dragon's Fury, Mandarin Mayhem, and of course Vampire all the way back in 1990. But there was another park that would join the Tussauds Group in the early 2000s that would change the theme park landscape as well, very, very drastically. So in 1979, Thorpe Park opened as an educational centre in the village of Thorpe, Chertsey. It then started adding rides like Space Station Zero in 1984, which is now known as the Flying Fish. And Thorpe Park grew to be a quite well-respected family theme park. But that was all going to change as the Tussauds Group bought Thorpe Park in 1998 from RMC. No, not the roller coaster manufacturer. They then started adding rides in 2002 with Colossus, where they hit the ground running, and then kept adding rides over a 10-year period until Swarm in 2012. This was to differentiate Thorpe Park from Chessington because they were becoming major competitors over the 1990s. And because Thorpe Park didn't have a height requirement unlike Chessington and Alton Towers, this was the obvious choice for a premier theme park in the UK. Oh, I don't know how long I can keep doing this. I sound like Expedition Theme Park, for God's sake. Everything was going smoothly until May 2007, when the Tussauds Group was bought by Merlin for £800 million. A lot had started changing behind the scenes, as Merlin slowly took over and then started adding slightly different rides to what Tussauds had started adding. But Merlin seemed to come in with a different outlook, and they started adding more themed attractions. Saw was a great example of this, being themed to, of course, the Saw franchise, and being very well themed. On the inside, that is. Another example of this was 13 that opened a year later at Alton Towers. Now, Merlin had been doing good stuff overseas, but we don't really care about that. We're just talking about the UK for now. Also, quick side note, Merlin also owned like Legoland properties, but I don't really care about them either, to be honest. Anyway, in 2013, Merlin would add their biggest investment yet. The Smiler opened to great success for the park. After the Swarm had been a big disappointment, Alton Towers' The Smiler was a major hit, having its marketing feature being 14 inversions, the most of any in the world. But the success wasn't without its problems, a lot of problems. One of the many reasons why I feel like Merlin theme parks didn't receive a lot of investment throughout the late 2010s and the early 2020s was because of the Smiler crash. This was a devastating incident where two cars collided on the track. There's probably better videos explaining it, I'm just doing a quick run over, but long story short, the staff overrode the system and it led to two trains colliding and people losing limbs. Now, Thorpe Park obviously was more understandable because a couple years prior, the Swarm had opened in 2012 and was a major flop. Actually, Thorpe Park's attendance had started to decrease at that point, which was obviously a big turn-off for Merlin. But the Smiler crash meant that the park wouldn't go without a new coaster for 5 years, which was probably one of its longest gaps since Nemesis. Octonauts doesn't really count, I mean major coaster. You may be thinking, how does this affect the rest of the UK theme park industry at all? Well, the UK is mainly made up of small family-owned parks that don't really receive a lot of investment due to their small size. And it's difficult for any more chains to grow because the UK is so small and Merlin has a grip on the 3 biggest parks in the UK, Alton Towers being the most popular. This meant that parks could barely get any new coasters, and the really only ones that were adding them were Blackpool, which added Icon in 2018, and maybe Flamingoland, which opened Sick in 2022. Another problem was the pandemic. The pandemic had a big impact on the entire theme park industry all over the world, and it obviously didn't help for the UK theme park industry either. But considering what Germany's been getting as of recent, that isn't too much of an excuse because, I mean, Fly opened in, was it 2022? That looks amazing. But fortunately, in 2024, we got a really good year. Hyperia, the UK's new tallest and fastest roller coaster, opened, along with Nemesis Reborn, the revitalised version of Nemesis. Although, in terms of UK theme parks, we're not quite out of the woods yet. Merlin has had a lot of layoffs as of recent, and a lot of shake-ups in the company have been happening. A new CEO, and just a lot of stuff going on, for better or for worse. Although this hopefully means that we might be able to see some more new additions coming to Merlin parks. And it does seem like, at least Alton Towers, is listening to the fans by revitalising Nemesis rather than removing it, and bringing back Ripsaw in the form of Toxicator. Fingers crossed Thorpe Park start doing the same, and add rides like an RMC iBox, which I know is what everybody wants, including me. And I feel like there's one reason that all this shaking up has been happening, and that is Universal UK. I recommend going to other channels to look for information about this, like Digital Dan is doing The Field with Thrill Riders. Long story short, again, Universal are building a theme park in Bedford, in the UK. Now, this will obviously be a massive thing for the UK theme park industry and is probably quite a concerning issue for Merlin. One thing I've learned is that Brits love going to Florida, and one of the main things that they do in Florida is Universal and Disney. And the fact that a Universal park is coming to the UK, it's going to be absolutely massive. And so I feel like Merlin will probably have to add more additions and become better to be able to compete with Universal. And we are seeing improvements. They just partnered with Minecraft. Of course, we've got Mystery Bond and Hyperia. Of course, Mandrill Mayhem as well. I do think Merlin is going in a good direction. Apart from a couple of the decisions they have made, it does seem that they are pointing in the right direction as of now. Let's just hope it stays that way. Anyway, thank you for watching this video to the end. Once again, please maybe subscribe. If you've watched it to the end, maybe you enjoyed it. I can't really speak for you, but hopefully you did. This video wasn't scripted, or at least whatever script I did write, I barely used. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.